Next up, I'd like to welcome Maggie Mitchell.
I'm Maggie, as Hannah just said, and I'm the mother of Zenon, who was a student at Sussex, but at present he's in one of Her Majesty's house in Dorset. My main purpose this evening is to support Alfie and Susan, as Alfie potentially have a custodial sentence, as like Zenon, Alfie has been charged with violent disorder. Yet his attacker, the police, will no doubt never be tried, even though they could have killed Alfie. The disproportionate sentences that have been given to students for throwing sticks at police and riot gear cannot be justified, and for me as a mother, seeing my son sentenced to 15 months in custody for exactly that is a crime that the justice system has committed in this so-called fair and democratic society. The police were very quick to charge many with violent disorder, but I will read you a quote from one of Zenon's father's letters. The spirit of the violent disorder legislation, interpreted under the light of the actual condition, supposes unjustifiable violence as the legal reasoning requires. This certainly was not the case at the student protest in October 2010, and the students should never have been charged with violent disorder. Alfie, Zenon, and Frank, who is not here, and thousands like-minded students took to the streets that day to protest at the cuts in education and the tripling of tuition fees. They had not premeditated to have conflict with the police. They were there because of the government's blatant disregard for a basic human right, that of a free higher education. Free education is a clause of the written constitution. The right to higher education can only be state-owned or by institution owned by the state. It was right to protest that day. Education is not and should never be allowed to become a business. The cost of all the cuts will impact on all of us, our social mobility and our goals. Alfie has already had to pay a very high price, and we all hope and pray that Alfie will not have to face a custodial as well. Zenon had strong opinions, and he too has had to pay a very high price for participating in the student protests. His disproportionate sentence has disrupted his education, given him a criminal record which no doubt will impact on his future, and has caused undue trauma and anxiety not only to himself but to his family and friends, and this has achieved absolutely nothing. Had this not happened to my son, I and many of you would not have been aware of the injustice has been taken place, and now a clear message has to be sent that if we are indeed a democracy, we have the right to protest and should not be faced with police brutality and criminalized when we do so. Political discipline is being gained through fear of punishment. This should never be allowed to happen. We thought we had grounds for appeal for Zenon because of the disproportionate sentence. The sentence never fitted the crime. In a letter that was written by Zenon's father to one of the newspapers, he said, I wonder whether any appeal court judges would be willing to stand up against the judicial oppressiveness, the mass violation of citizen rights, and the human devastation caused for political expedience that the sentencing of Zenon and many others have occurred. We found out at the weekend that Zenon's appeal will not happen. He has been told he has no grounds for appeal. And these are the reasons given by the judge. You threw missiles at the police. Yes, sticks and some rubbish are called missiles. You contributed to a serious incident of disorder. Which disorder? I do not know what the judge is talking about. The third point, it may be that a sentence of 15 months can be regarded as near the top of the appropriate range of sentences, but I cannot see any basis on which it could be said to be manifestly excessive. The word excessive somehow got to me, I cannot understand how a 15-month sentence for stick throwing within the context of a legal protest is not excessive, when putting someone in hospital for weeks warrants a suspended sentence. Zenon had a friend who was hit on his head from the back, minding his own business. The person responsible for that incident, with 4 previous violent conviction, was given a 12-month sentence. And Zenon threw a stick at the police and a bear tin, and he was given 15 months in custody. Excessive force, however, by the police is somehow ignored, like in the case of Alfie. Lastly, this quote really upset me. The judge wrote, "I hope that when you have served your sentence, you will be able to put this matter behind you. If the purpose of the sentence is to forget the sentence and put it behind you, then there was absolutely no point in the sentence in the first place, as no lessons would have been learned." How can one put something like this when one's life has been so traumatized and disrupted? I will always believe that this sentence did not fit the crime. It was totally disproportionate, and we will therefore continue to fight for what is just and fair. I hope that Alfie has a judge and jury who has the sense and balls to do what is right and just, and not follow a dark political agenda. Justice and politics does not go hand in hand, and we should not put this sentence behind us. I've just had some news, after I've written this speech, that Zenon will be coming home tomorrow. Although he's coming home tomorrow, he continues to serve this 15-month sentence. He'll be on tag, he has to report to probationary, but hopefully with the help and the support that he's had from Sussex University and the Right to Protest group, he'll be able to go back to university. My son is coming home tomorrow, but the fight for justice will continue. Thank you.